Phillip.
Now, I'm a pretty socially well-adjusted guy. You know, I'm a pretty reasonable guy to hang out with. You know, I have a good job. I'm a programmer because as an Indian American, you only have so many occupational choices. But, ladies and gentlemen, I have a great shame. I have baggage. The baggage is the name of my band. And the name of that band is Jizz. Well, it's an acronym. It's J-I-Z. And what does it stand for? I'll get to that later. What I'm going to tell you about right now is Jessica Gianta, quite possibly the most beautiful woman I have ever been out on a date with. Ever. It was set up by a friend of mine that I worked with at Penn. He said, Phil, I know you don't like being set up on dates, but my wife works with this woman. She's a kindergarten teacher in an all-girls private school in the suburbs, and you have to meet her. And I'm like, Dennis, I hate being set up on blind dates. And he's like, no, talk to my wife. His wife calls me. She says, Phil, if I was gay, she'd be the one. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll go out on a date with this woman. I'm sitting at the bar. I turn to the doors. She walks in, drop, dead, gorgeous. She's beautiful. And at this point I'm thinking, all right, well, like, what shot do I have with this woman? I mean, she's stunning. But she sits down, we start talking, and we have the greatest date I've ever been on in my life. 1 hour goes by, 2 hours go by. Like, I'm charming, I'm chatty, I'm telling jokes. Ooh, she's laughing. Oh, it's so funny. Oh, occupational choices, that's funny. It's funny because you're Indian. So 3 hours go by. She says at the end, I would love to see you at dinner. I'm like, have you ever been to North 3rd? Which I think is a solid date choice. She's like, no. I'm like, let's go to North 3rd. I call them. I'm like, I know you don't take reservations. I need a table Friday at 7:30. And they're like, we will give you a table. We get to the restaurant. We're at the front. Hostess comes up. I ask her, would you happen to have a table in the house for two? And she looks at me and she says, you know what? I think there's one left in the house. We start going to the back room. Now, if you've ever been at the back room at North 3rd, you may recall something that might freak out the kindergarten teacher from an all-girls private school in the suburbs. Because the only table left at North 3rd that night was sitting beneath a giant 5x5 painting of exposed women's breasts. So as we're walking up there, it's happening in slow motion. I'm just like, oh, no. And she goes, I'm like, Jessica, I'm so sorry. I'll take you anywhere else. There are like a dozen different restaurants within a block of here. She's like, no. It's okay. And like a trooper, she takes the seat that's facing away from the painting, which means that I am facing the painting. I have to order like this. How you doing, sweetie? Is this good for you? Now, she knows that I'm allergic to seafood, but she orders calamari anyway. But I let her order, because at this point, I'm like, listen, I'm just going to go for the win, and if I die, I went out guns blazing. Our drinks come, I start to tell her a few stories. We start having a good time. I tell her a story that involves a band, but instead of laughing, she moves her drink aside and says, so what's the name of your band? And before I could say anything, she says, I think I know what the name of your band is. And I'm like, really? She says, does it begin with a J? And I start asking her, have you been stalking me on MySpace? And she's like, no, Facebook. So I feel compelled to defend myself. And I'm like, no, you don't understand, it's an acronym. And she takes her napkin and flings it on the floor and goes, well, what does it stand for? What does it stand for? Which is a good question. I could have said Jews in Zion. I could have said Jesus is zany. And if I was really prescient, I would have said, Jessica is awesome. But instead, I decided to tell her what Jizz stood for. I looked into those eyes, those big, beautiful eyes, and I said, jizzing in the zoo? And a look of utter disdain and contempt spread over her face, and I never saw or heard from her again. As for the band Jizz, what became of us? Did we blow up big? I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to say it, but Jizz has blown its load. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, you've been great.